Welcome to part two of our workshop on how to start a brokerage in the Middle East and Africa. Embark on your journey to becoming a successful brokerage owner with this specialized workshop, which focuses on the critical aspects and the critical part of any sort of business in this area, which is obtaining licenses and ensuring regulatory compliance. As a trader, it's not the most, the sexiest thing, but it is the most important thing in the market. And we're very happy to have here the Chief Legal Officer from Sumsub, who has a booth over here, so you'll be able to talk with him either after the event or over there, and the wonderful people there. He was appointed Chief Officer there in 2018. He is an experienced blockchain and fintech attorney with a focus on AML and KYC compliance, data privacy, and international regulator relations. He has a master's degree in transnational business law from the University of the Pacific, McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, California. He also studied IT law at the University of California, Berkeley. A certified SciSec AML compliance officer, Tony is the author and host of Sumsub for Experts on YouTube. His commentary and interviews have been in many reputable, wonderful publications like the Financial Times. He currently lives in Florianopolis, so that's in Brazil. He's come a long way, and we are very happy to have him here. So please give a warm welcome to Tony Petrov. Good? Good?
Thank you. It was a blast. Thank you very much. It was a blast, really. Introduction. First of all, I just maybe give you a bit of the background information. So, apart from being the Chief Legal Officer at Sumsub, I'm also together with Samir Safar Ali. He's speaking at some of the sessions today, and he was speaking yesterday. He is from Baker McKenzie. We work together in the MENA FinTech Association, which is basically an expert body focusing on the development of the regulation in MENA region. First of all, I just wanted to ask, how many of you have broker companies, licensed broker companies so others, I guess, are aspiring to set up a company. First of all, I just wanted to obviously I will not cover everything in regulation, in licensing. There are long lists of requirements that you can read, and obviously you need a lawyer to help you determine whether or not you are compliant or not. I will talk mostly about the critical points and maybe some interesting trends that you need to think about. First of all, MENA region is huge. It spans from Morocco in the west towards, I guess, Pakistan or Iran in the east. So it's not just Dubai or Abu Dhabi. It's a huge region. In each country has its own regulation, but still the regulations are different, and let's say the level of regulatory, let's say, development in these countries are also different. And in practice, if we look at the broker companies that are presented here, for example, who have booths, usually they have licenses where? Some of them probably could have some licenses such as, for example, Labuan or Comoros, etc., etc. But exactly for the MENA region, usually they prefer one of the licenses that are provided either by Dubai, which is the DIFC, Dubai Financial Services Authority, or Abu Dhabi, ADGM, or mainland. In mainland, we have the body which is called the Securities and Commodities Authority, ESCA, and one of these three bodies usually provide licenses for the companies working in brokerage. obviously, okay, we have different regulations. What's important to understand is that even though right now you can have this, let's say, global license that you can work with in the MENA region, I don't think that this will last in the future. Right now, every lawyer would tell you that there is no passport-in system in the MENA region. This means that technically, if you service, for example, clients somewhere in Saudi Arabia, it is supposed for you to actually have a license to be regulated in Saudi Arabia. Okay, right now this is not the point. Right now, firms usually again, work just with the DFC license, even working with Saudi Arabia. Why? Just because they have the office in DFC. Sheikh Al Maktoum said that you can actually use this company to serve, let's say, abroad, outside of the free zone, as long as you have the office. But again, this is the regulation here in Dubai, and we can be sure that maybe sometime in the future, Saudi Arabia, for example, may have its own regulation. Right now, it exists. They have the regulatory authority, and so they actually can set up the regime which will require you to work with the local license. This is something that exists in Europe, for example. In Europe, most of the countries, such as Germany, for example, requires you to have a local license in Germany in order to work with local clients. So every country which understands that its audience costs money, it is a good audience, payable audience, audience that can pay money, that can be lucrative for any type of financial business. They usually, bring upon their own regulation, and they try to control the audience. So this means the residents and citizens of the country. At the same time, I can tell that in 2024, for example, the Gulf Cooperation Council announced certain unification procedures. So this means that, for example, in terms of the client onboarding, they have some certain initiative to unify the requirements for client onboarding in the Gulf Cooperation Council. But again, Gulf Cooperation Council is just 4 countries in the Gulf region, so that's not other countries. That's not all of the MENA region countries, which is 20 countries. So another point which is very important is, again, brokerage is a huge area. Brokers trade with different goods. It can be securities, it can be commodities, futures, derivatives. It can be other assets, for example, virtual assets. Virtual assets, as you can see from the cases now happening with the American economy, for example, currently, that some of the bodies, for example, as you know, SEC in the US considers most of the crypto assets as securities. Maybe this will change with the next presidency. The CFTC, the Commodities Authority, says that the virtual assets are actually commodities. So again, here in Dubai, for example, there is a special body which regulates virtual assets. It's called VARA, Virtual Assets Authority. Regulation Authority, which issues its own licenses, but at the same time, Dubai is not the whole United Arab Emirates. So on the mainland, for example, this is the jurisdiction of ESCA. In 2024, I guess in the end of 2024, there was a cooperation agreement between ESCA and VARA, saying that they kind of like divided the virtual assets territory between them. This means that if you are in Dubai, you are supposed to apply for a VARA license. If you are outside of Dubai, then ESCA. But this, again, does not refer to free zones. In free zones, there is its own regulation. And on top of that, again, the question is, with virtual assets, how this the trade with virtual assets, how this is in conformity with other regulations. For example, there is a open question whether or not the trade in cryptocurrencies is compliant with Islamic law, because the crypto assets are very volatile. This, let's say, lack of certainty in the price of the crypto asset creates problems with Islamic law. This, in turn, creates a problem whether or not you can be allowed, for example, to trade crypto assets and offer crypto assets to certain countries, such as, for example, Saudi Arabia and some other countries. So this is also an open question. Now, related to the licensing regime itself, as you probably know, in order to apply for a license, you need to have certain factors settled. For example, Brad already was talking about business plan. Business plan is extremely important. The other thing is, for example, the team. For example, in the DIFC, you need to have a certain, let's say, team of people that should be presupposed to when you are applying for the license, such as, for example, board of directors, senior executive officer, the person who should have the relevant experience, finance officer, chief risk officer, money laundering officer, again, the person with relevant experience, resident in the UAE, and these people should be demonstrated to the licensing committee. And the period usually the licensing process usually takes 2 steps. So it's initial approval, and then after you get the initial approval, you go for the final approval, and then you can operate. Usually, the period of licensing requires about 2 to 3 months. When it comes to mainland, it can be further longer. So it's quite a long period. Again, a very important thing is paid up capital. For DIFC, for example, for brokerage license, which is 3A category, the paid up capital is $500,000. When it comes to mainland, for example, at ESCA, the paid up capital should be 2 million dirhams. Plus, you pay for the application fee and your license fee every year. Plus, you need to hire the platform providers, such as, for example, the KYC provider, such as Sumsub or other providers. You need to have the platform for trading itself, MetaTrader, any other platform. You need to show these elements to the licensing authority, and then you will be eligible to trade. So this is all quite a long process. The overall elements that are very important, apart from the license itself, is that you need to have client fund protection. This means that you need to show that you don't commingle the assets of your clients on your own assets, usually separate bank accounts or a specific bank account. Transparency, disclosure, AML, CFT rules, risk management practices, operational requirements, technology, marketing, ongoing compliance. All these elements are important. And this is something that you should definitely show when you are doing your licensing procedure. We just were talking with Brad that overall cost, for example, to set up a brokerage firm in DIFC is about $2 million, together with the paid-up capital and all other requirements. So you should be prepared for that. But again, there are cheaper licenses, as Brad said, such as, for example, Komoro license or Labuan or Nanjuan, but really something that helps you work more or less risk-free on the MENA region, in the MENA region, is typically the licenses from UAE bodies such as ESCA, DAFC, or the ADGM. This is something that you will need, for example, to demonstrate to the bank. So usually, if you have these licenses, you don't have problems with opening a bank account. As Brad said very correctly, opening a bank account is just the same level of problem, just the same serious issue as, for example, getting the license itself. It's the same procedure. The bank will require you to show the AML risk policy, the team, the MLRO, risk managers, etc., etc. So everything will be required again. So these two things you will do not only for the license but also for the bank account. Of course, others. There are firms who are, operating, with the Comoro license and having no problems with the bank account. But this is networking. This is the life. You work with people that you know, so that can be also possible. Overall, these are the points that I wanted to describe to you as critical points for licensing. Maybe you have some questions.
Okay, thank you for the interesting points. Now, you mentioned before that you have the offshore zones, the offshore financial zones in the UAE, and then you have VARA, right? Now, is there overlapping? I mean, can you get a license for a crypto exchange, let's say, from the ADGM, FSRA, and then offer services locally in the UAE? Or do you need to get a VARA license to be able to do that?
Yeah, VARA license, basically, again, this is a fantastic story, of course. In terms of how the UAE regulate this subject, because obviously you have the overlapping jurisdiction of Dubai, but at the same time you have the mainland UAE, which is also has its own jurisdiction. The cooperation agreement that was made between VARA and ESCA I think it was in autumn 2024, presupposes that if the company is in Dubai, then it is supposed that it should have the license from VARA. But if it's outside of Dubai, for example in Abu Dhabi, it can have a different license. Obviously, free zone, which is in ADGM, is a free zone, which has its own regulation, allows you to have the license in the free zone by the AGGM, which is fully okay, and then you don't need the license for VARA. But at the same time, if you are in Dubai, you're supposed to have the license from VARA. The requirements are more or less the same. I mean, in terms of, I'm sure that there can be difference in terms of pricing, in terms of costs. But generally, if you look at the rule books of VARA or rule books of ADGM, in terms of the prudential requirements related to how the business should be operating, more or less the same. Of course, the prices could be different, and some small requirements related to technical things can be different. Generally, if you read rule books of VARA, of DIFC, they are written very well. They are absolutely world-class regulations that you can find quite the same in FCA in London or elsewhere. So it doesn't really make so much difference, but of course you have to have a license somewhere. It can be a DGM, it can be a VARA. In any case, you are compliant. But it's interesting that UAE has this difference of different subjects that can regulate on one and the same thing. But if you see, they have much smaller problems, as you can see, for example, the overlapping problems with jurisdiction and regulation, for example, in the US, where you have SEC and CFTC, they're trying to regulate on cryptocurrencies, and in the end of the day, we see that the cryptocurrencies are somewhere in between the two chairs. And here, of course, the situation is different, and in some way, it's better. Even though I don't like, personally, the idea of having, let's say, special regulation for virtual assets. I think this is to a certain extent a vulgar idea. Why you are separating virtual assets from other commodity securities and other elements, other things that you can trade? Why virtual assets are separate? Just because it's something that we don't know exactly about, something that is unusual. I don't see any big idea here, but at least we have some regulation. When you have the opposite situation, it's much worse. But thank you for your question.
Thank you, Tony. My question is, if someone register outside, offshore, then they open an office in UAE. So what regulations about this type of setups?
Outside of the UAE or outside of the free zone?
Yeah, no, outside the country, yeah, UAE.
Outside the UAE?
Yeah. For example, anyone register in Mauritius and anywhere else and open the office in here?
No, as Brad correctly said, you got to have at least one license somewhere. Why it's so? Because, I mean, if you're having no license, you're going to have problems with everything. Starting with the bank account, you will not get the bank account. You will not get liquidity. You will not get the contract with service providers such as KYC, blah, blah, blah. So it's basically you have no business if you don't have at least some license. So that's why we have this Mauritius, we have Comoros, we have Labuan, etc., because these are jurisdictions that are offering their territory and their status of the state, of the regulator, that they have this opportunity to give licenses. This is, of course, a fixture. You will never go to Mauritius. Maybe you will have some small office there. I know that most of the companies, for example, that I know, they have booths here, they have Mauritius offices, and they have people there. They hired special people there so that everything would be fine with the license. But for example, in Comoros, I think in most cases you don't have the office. So you got to have at least one license somewhere. You can work with Mauritius license. I don't think that you got to have problems if you have some of the clients, for example, from Dubai, or from UAE, if you don't specifically target this audience, right? You don't show the exact, I don't know, marketing campaign for the people who live specifically in Dubai. I don't think that then you have problems with local authorities. So bottom line is that you gotta have at least one license, at least somewhere. But when you have the license from Dubai, when you have the license from AGM, for example, this is a more reputable license because people know that when you have this license, this means that you have all the people, such as senior executive officer, you have the MLRO, and there is a body that actually checked this, that you all have, you have this, you have the business plan, you have the prudential requirements, so you have everything in place. So this gives you more reputation. But if you just work and you have your own, let's say, buddy in some bank and he will open you a bank account with a Mauritius license, then not a problem. I mean, you can work. Obviously, when you target some specific audiences, such as, for example, in Germany or in the UK, you're going to have problems because they will sue you. They will tell you that you are targeting the audience without the authorization. And this is a problem because obviously where you are gaining, most of the profits in the richest audiences, the richest countries, Britain, in this region, Saudi Arabia, in this region, maybe Egypt, and I think that in the future, in the very close future, I guess, such countries as Saudi Arabia might have its own regulation and will require local license to work with the population. Then I guess the regulators here gonna have some problems, but I think there will be some maybe negotiations about that. So I guess they will negotiate somehow. But right now, bottom line is that you gotta have at least one license. The licenses that are issued here in the United Arab Emirates are considered just more reputable than others.
Okay, just I want to understand this little more. For example, we have one license anywhere, and now we want to operate the company in Dubai. So what law says about it if we open any license office or branch office here and we are authorized to market? Yeah, this is exactly.
So you're saying, for example, if you open an office here, but you don't have a local license. So for example, if you, for instance, you opened up an office in Dubai without a license, right? I mean, you can open up any office here. I mean, Sumsub, for example, has a local company in Dubai. I think even mainland company. It was considerably complicated to open up a local company, but I mean, you're allowed to work, to do business in this with the use of this company. It doesn't require a special license for that. You can have, for example, another entity in Mauritius with the license in Mauritius, and you gotta have one huge group having this company and that company. I don't have any issues with that. If you have all the prudential requirements, if you do business with a license, this is the only thing that matters. The only thing is important is just to pass the checks in the bank, for example, so that you could open up a bank account. If you open up a bank account and you have a license, that's it. You're all set. You can work.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. My question is, I check with the DMCC crypto activities, some of the business which I plans. The same business activities are provides in Sharjah free zones, same crypto centers. Okay.
Sorry, I don't hear you well.
I check some of the activities, crypto activities, business activities in DMCC. Okay, same activities of business activities provides in Sharjah free zone as well. Okay, if I take from DMCC, they said some of the activities we need to get VARA regulatory. So same, if I take from Sharjah, would I need to take this VARA regulatory as well?
If you have a license in DIFC, for example,
Yes. DMCC license, yes.
Until recently,
DMCC crypto center is.
Yeah. Until recently, it was only VARA that was legislating on crypto in the region. But I saw the last rule books from DIFC, DFSA, which is the DIFC regulatory authority, and they also started regulating crypto assets, virtual assets. So it seems that there is certain overlap in there. The idea is, of course, if you have in the free zone, you are regulated by DFSA. That was the idea. If you are in Dubai in general, then VARA. But right now, I guess we are getting into the moment when we have the overlap in jurisdiction there as well. So you have the division between ESCA and VARA right now. There is no division between the free zone and VARA in Dubai. But I guess the idea is that if you are in free zone, then you are regulated by DFSA, which is not VARA. So we see how it goes. Right now, I guess the correct answer should be that you don't need the VARA authorization if you work in the free zone in the IFC, which also regulates now crypto. according to the last rule books that I read.
Yeah, some of the activities which we need to take VARA regulatory as DMCC says, but same business activities Sharjah Crypto Center they provide actually, I incurred. But if I open the office in Sharjah or somewhere, do I need to take a regulatory of VARA? Is it necessary or not necessary?
If you, I don't.
There is a license activities, proprietary crypto trading license. Okay?
Yeah.
So these activities of business, we need to take a regulatory. I incurred with the VARA. They said we need to get regulatory.
Yeah. If you just deal with crypto sitting in Dubai, then you are subject to VARA regulation.
If it is Dubai or all over UAE?
No, it's just Dubai.
Just Dubai.
Yeah, VARA is established by Dubai. Yeah, I know it's complicated.
You understand me? Because the Sharjah, they provide same business activities.
Because UAE is kind of like a federation, so you have you have several emirates, and Dubai is just one of the emirates. But the ruler of Dubai is allowed to open up whatever authorities he wants. He is the ruler of the emirate. At the same time, we have the UAE, which is the federative authorities, and they are spending on all of the United Arab Emirates, except when Dubai, for example, established its own regime, which is the situation that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are a lovely audience.